All right, so we're very fortunate to have this amazing man that I met a couple years ago, actually in Zug, Switzerland. I'm always curious why people eventually make their way to Liechtenstein, because I've heard that there's a very small select group of people that live here. And Prince Michael actually had a direct link with this gentleman over here. Let me embarrass you for a moment while you're up in the front. You can see the hoodie that he's wearing. And they also have a booth in the back. And I was handed one of these hot pink cards on the way over. And supposedly if you get one of these, you get also champagne. So you got to go check this out and what's going on over there with that. If you talk to him, he's going to talk to you about a crypto castle. He's going to talk to you about ꬱternity. He's also maybe going to talk to you about the fact that he has co-built and launched. What are these amazing sounds? It's like thunder. Co-built and launched 7 wallets, including the first Dogecoin browser wallet. He's known as a godfather of Ethereum, and here he's known as Yanni. Let's give it up for Yanni, please. Have fun.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Yanni, or Yanislav Malahov, and indeed, Prince Michael was kind of like the first Liechtenstein person who I talked to in 2016, to then be pointed to another person, to then be pointed to the FMA and a few other, let's say, authorities or key decision makers in this country to make fundamentally the decision to, create the ꬱternity establishment here in Liechtenstein and to set a base for the launch of ꬱternity blockchain. Today I'm going to talk about hyperchains, so kind of like the next evolution of ꬱternity blockchain. And I'm going to first introduce a little bit more about my person, and then a little history about blockchains will follow, and one of the core problems will be explained, which we think we have a solution, but please judge yourself whether with hyperchains we have a kind of like a solution to the problem which we want to solve, which is one of the core problems in blockchains, generally speaking. And then I'm going to also talk about different implementations and instances, and also about my vision for the future for ꬱternity blockchain and hyperchains. So, yeah, this is me. I'm a serial founder. I'm also Forbes 30 under 30. I'm a computer science graduate, and I have also this title called the Godfather of Ethereum. If you want to read more about the Godfather of Ethereum story, there's a blog post on Medium published, which will show you a little history about the Ethereum project and, generally speaking, cryptocurrencies, and myself. Then also, I'm the founder of superhero.com, which is a wallet and a social platform for ꬱternity blockchain, and the founder of the cryptocastle.org, which is a real estate tokenization project out of based in Germany, with the Crypto Castle, which is a medieval castle, fortress, or in German you call Schloss, which we want to tokenize and this way democratize with ꬱternity blockchain. Now a little history about, generally speaking, blockchains. So it started all with Bitcoin in 2009 with the invention of the proof of work consensus mechanism, which allowed Bitcoin to create the first really decentralized ledger all around the world, which was publicly writable too, but not changeable anymore, tamper-proof. Essentially, the double spend problem was eliminated through the blockchain, through the invention of the blockchain, and many other projects followed. For example, the Mastercoin ICO, which was a tokenization project on top of the Bitcoin blockchain. So it was the first ICO, or the first token sale on the Bitcoin blockchain, you could say. So yeah, Mastercoin showed how the Bitcoin blockchain could be also used for the issuance of more tokens of kind of like other financial or maybe non-financial instruments. And we saw lots of forks and forks of forks of Bitcoin and of the kind of like the Bitcoin token or Bitcoin software standard. And yeah, many of you have probably heard the word shitcoins. This is coming from that time when people just changed the logo and the name of the Bitcoin client and a few variables. And then they launched a new cryptocurrency with a new peer-to-peer network and a new blockchain. For example, Dogecoin or Litecoin are such forks or forks of Bitcoin. So there was a big boom around launching new currencies based on the Bitcoin source code. And what we saw afterwards, around the same time, was the arrival of the first 100% proof-of-stake blockchain. So there was no more mining, no more proof of work, but it was just proof-of-stake, just servers signing transactions or signing blocks and coming to consensus. So I don't want to go into the details whether the first 100% proof-of-stake consensus mechanism was safe. It was a very naive approach, but we have seen now in 2020 that Ethereum has migrated to proof-of-stake, and it took them quite some years, like 9 years after the launch of the first 100% proof-of-stake blockchain with NXT. Yeah, we also saw the Ethereum ICO, the Ethereum token sale, very successful, and also the announcement that Ethereum is going to migrate to proof of stake already in 2014. And we saw lots of forks and forks of the Ethereum code base, of Ethereum projects, or of the Ethereum virtual machine, which essentially created some sort of EVM, the EVM standard or the Ethereum API standard, where when you essentially comply with the standard, then you have much easier ways how to be integrated with other existing projects, because it's such a big standard already. So kind of like first we had the Bitcoin standard, now we have a Ethereum standard or Ethereum software standard. And Ethereum and the EVM is kind of like old technology. We with :_Eternity, we wanted to innovate in all the different areas which a smart contract platform is made of, and we launched in 2018 the Bitcoin NG implementation, consensus implementation of the :_Eternity blockchain with the :_Eternity mainnet, and here you're gonna see also another different effect of the history of crypto and blockchain, the rise of DeFi. So in mid-2020, you can see like from a market cap of $1 billion to $2 billion, enormous rise, up to 100, 200 billion market, or not market cap, you would call it total locked value or total value locked in DeFi, which shows you how essentially currently the capitalization or the how shall we call it, the software standards in the blockchain world are established. Here you see a coin market cap with Bitcoin obviously on number 1 and Ethereum on number 2. And the following logos of the currencies in the kind of like this row here show you what kind of standard this is based off. So Tether, for example, is actually just a token on the Ethereum blockchain, but also on the Bitcoin blockchain. So this is not fully correct. USD coin on the Ethereum blockchain. BNB is a fork of Ethereum, or a token on a blockchain forked of Ethereum. Then Binance USD, same. XRP is hard to say that's a blockchain at all. Cardano is actually fundamentally written from scratch, and Solana as well, but also difficult to say that's a blockchain because it's going down all the time. With Dogecoin, you have a fork of Bitcoin again. And here you see that with Polkadot, one of the most successful parachains is based on the Ethereum virtual machine, Shiba Inu, a token on Ethereum DAI, a token on Ethereum Lido, on Ethereum Polygon, based on Ethereum token standard, and so on. So you see that, yeah, we have now kind of like these two standards in the top 20 of coin market cap. And with ꬱternity, we are trying to establish a new standard for launching tokens as well as blockchains, and to make this as easy as possible also as a platform for decentralized finance. So when you decide which blockchain to pick, there are different ways how to look at it. For example, the consensus model, one of the most important things one should look at it from a technological perspective. How does the network of the node operators of the blockchain servers agree on what is the current state of the blockchain? How does this work? With Bitcoin, we have the proof of work consensus. Very simple. It works for more than 10 years, almost without a flaw or without any flaw. With new proof of stake mechanisms, we have seen them coming and going all the time. That's strange. We have also seen, of course, proof of work blockchains disappear. Then, for example, the coin model or the token model, the economic model is super important. How many coins do exist at the beginning or are meant to exist in the future in a couple of years? What's the kind of like the token inflation here? How to implement smart contracts is another super important question which one should probably answer before making a decision which smart contract platform to choose. For example, with ꬱternity and with Sophia, we have focused on implementing it on a higher level, or making it possible that smart contract developers work on a higher level by abstracting for the developers on a higher level. The virtual machine is also super important. As I mentioned before, these different standards, most of them are because the Ethereum virtual machine is being used. And yeah, whether also more advanced concepts of blockchain technology are integrated, for example, state channels or a naming system, or for example, generalized accounts as we have it with ꬱternity, is this also part of? And of course, the tooling, what is the software to make the software work? How is this built? Super important. And besides the technological aspects, there are soft factors, of course. For example, the community, how big is the community, how large is the market cap, for example, quite important aspects as well. Okay, with the proof of work consensus, I mentioned it briefly, but this is actually the core of the talk here. So if you take one thing out of my presentation, maybe it's this slide. And yeah, with Bitcoin, we have seen proof of work securing blockchain since 2009. And most of the smart contract platforms nowadays, maybe except of ꬱternity, are proof of stake or have been migrated to proof of stake. And is this really needed, or is this really a problem with proof of work that it's so resource intensive, or is it actually by definition yeah, a fundamental thing and is maybe a good thing? Yeah, and I would like to raise following questions which you can take home and answer later if you don't have an answer now. And it's if we spend 3 to 5% of the world electricity production on securing all global ledgers, would this be acceptable? So does it make sense if we have a super secure consensus mechanism like with proof of work? Does it make sense to remove it or scale it down because it's spending a fair percent of the world electricity production? Or can we maybe scale it up that it actually secures all the transactions for all the ledgers? Like with Bitcoin, for example, 7 transactions per second are not enough. With Ethereum, 14 or 16 transactions per second are also not enough. But if we can secure all the global ledgers with the same proof of work mechanism, so essentially millions or billions of transactions per second, does it still make sense or not make sense to spend 3 to 5% or maybe even more of the world electricity production to secure them? Yeah, with ꬱternity, we believe that we have an answer to this. So maybe I'll say first a few words to ꬱternity before we go into the answer. And ꬱternity is a blockchain. It's a smart contract platform. It's open source. And the public instance of the implementation, the ꬱternity implementation, is called the ꬱternity mainnet. The smart contract language in which you can write smart contracts in is called Sophia, and the virtual machine is called the ꬱt. It's all written from scratch by industry experts in language design and virtual machine design in a language called Erlang, which is a language from the telecommunication industry, which everybody is using every day when doing a phone call or using mobile internet. It's everywhere, just not so obvious. And yeah, the current consensus mechanism with the ꬱternity mainnet is based on the Cuckoo proof of work and Bitcoin NG, which is an innovation from the Bitcoin world to have nodes reaching faster consensus. So here we are now, or this was a couple of weeks ago, the screenshot, it's from AE Now. It's a Chinese community project showing you a window into the ꬱternity world with the latest blocks. We have over 650,000 blocks on the ꬱternity blockchain already, and with over 33 million or almost 34 million transactions on the ꬱternity blockchain. And yeah, a few mining pools, several oracles, and thousands of contracts. This is still not really satisfying me. We need more growth of the ecosystem. This is what we are really working hard on to improve. But here another important fact of how to distinguish the blockchain, the token models. With ꬱternity, we have similar curve how Bitcoin and Ethereum is done, just with the difference to Ethereum, it's that there's no end to the supply, and with Bitcoin and ꬱternity there's a supply, there's an end to the supply, and currently the block reward is 82 AE per block per 3 minutes essentially. So here you can see where we are now, essentially with 82 reward, and the total amount of the coins with 404 million, and yeah, this is going to be kind of like a halving event in 3 years from now. We're gonna see only 41 reward for the blocks, and then it's going even further down, and at the end you see it's going to 0, and 21, 34. It's going to 0. These are approximate numbers. This, again, this is from a Chinese community website, calculated based on the software which we released. And yeah, we also don't run the network. So here you can see a mining pool showing the growth of the ꬱternity hash rate after the Ethereum merge happened. So Ethereum stopped with their proof of work mechanism and switched to proof of stake, and lots of miners decided to also mine ꬱternity, for example, with a almost quadrupling, or yeah, maybe even more of the hash rate, which is technically not even a hash rate, which is a little technical detail. So with Hyperchains Consensus, we propose a hybrid proof of work, proof of stake consensus mechanism, which is, yeah, piggybacking on the proof of work of parents or parent chains, such as, for example, the Bitcoin blockchain. So to maximize the utility of the Bitcoin blockchain and to secure as many ledgers as possible. So a hyperchain node operator will need to run both nodes of the parent chain and the child chain, and will need to pay transaction fees on the parent chain and receive block rewards on the child chain. And also, hyperchains can be stacked in trees, so that you can have essentially exponential scalability while stacking them into trees. And it's of course perfect for on-chain scalability. Hyperchains originated somehow on a blog post which I wrote in 2016, which is called Hyperchain Secure, Cheap, Scalable Blockchain Technology for Everyone, published on Medium. It's a little different than our current approach, but fundamentally it's about securing a proof-of-stake blockchain and a proof-of-work blockchain while timestamping it. And yeah, hyperchains, you could say, are a new breed of blockchains. They're combining the best of proof-of-work and proof-of-stake. So yeah, that the proof-of-work parent chain is securing the proof-of-stake child chain, and this way you can reuse the proof-of-work and really scale much better. Maybe you've heard of merge mining before, so maybe you think that, wait, this is not such an innovation, this is kind of like boring, because there are projects like Rootstock, for example, which also reuse the proof-of-work of Bitcoin. But actually, Rootstock or the Rootstock node operators or the Rootstock network needs to ask the Bitcoin node operators or Bitcoin miners for permission to essentially be co-mined or merge mined. And with Hyperchains Consensus, this is not necessary anymore. The Hyperchains and the node operators, that can be kind of like almost fully stealth and private, securing a blockchain, whether it's for public use case or for private use case. This is also possible. So with the Hyperchains Consensus, first we are focusing, with the ꬱternity establishment, I'm focusing on the ꬱternity blockchain-based implementation of this consensus mechanism, but generally it would be really great to have also other implementations, such as a Bitcoin code-based implementation, for example, also with Bitcoin as a parent, or with Dogecoin as a parent, or ꬱternity node as with the Dogecoin parent. And so this is really an open invitation to everyone to implement Hyperchains Consensus, whether it's ꬱternity related or not. I believe that we need to have way more transactions on this earth, way more crypto transactions, blockchain transactions, and so far no technology is really able to scale. We have seen kind of like the beginning of a mainstream adoption, but still far from the actual mainstream adoption. And of course, every hyperchain has its own native coin, so the ꬱternity mainnet will stay proof of work, except maybe a governance decision wants to change this, which is obviously also possible. And I will be very much interested in seeing an ꬱternity Hyperchains implementation to be launched or hooked into the Bitcoin proof of work, hooked into the Bitcoin proof of work, and we're gonna do. I'm gonna definitely help to facilitate a governance decision for the future, how ꬱternity blockchain is going to look like, because as I said in the beginning already, we are producing software. Other people do the mining, do the operations of the network, and also the governance, or what the people who participate in the network, who have a stake in the network, who have tokens in the network, they should have something to say. So it's, there's going to be soon a kind of like a process for this to participate and also to earn some tokens as a reward for early participation in the governance, and then launch ꬱternity Hyperchains, which is currently being developed with the developers of the ꬱternity Crypto Foundation mostly. But as I also said, it would be great to have more competing implementation, not necessarily ꬱternity focused. yeah, the other things which would be super interesting for the future of Eternity blockchain is whether WASM could be or should be supported, which is WASM is a virtual machine from the web, a deterministic virtual machine, and lots of other blockchains already support this. So maybe there's going to be also a governance decision or a vote about this as well, and kind of like a blockchain toolkit or launch your own Hyperchain toolkit or SDK is something I would really like to see, because yeah, with Eternity we want to make it really as simple as possible to launch your new token and your new blockchain, because we believe there's really a multi-chain world in the future. There will be many blockchains, and people want to have lots of tokens, and there's going to be lots of competition and lots of use cases like private corporate ledgers are also, of course, important, and public coins and competition generally of lots of currencies around the world will happen. So we're gonna need to have lots of different blockchains, lots of different tokens. I believe we have just seen the beginning of this kind of like new world, and it's becoming increasingly simpler and easier to launch tokens and chains. We have seen this with the initial forks of Bitcoin, where you still needed to kind of like do basic software development to launch your new coin. But nowadays it's just using an UX. It's just clicking and you launch a coin. And also probably with chains, for example, for supply chain use cases, it makes a lot of sense to use private chains which are maybe operated for a year or two or maybe less. But the transactions are not written to the public ledger because it's naturally much more expensive to write to the public ledger. So yeah, I believe we're gonna have lots of use cases for hyperchains with Eternity. And yeah, as a last thing, I would like to see Bitcoin as an entropy and a timestamping layer, because it has the highest security of all the computer networks in the world, and it is battle tested, and Eternity Hyperchains as the smart contract layer, and Sophia and Fate virtual machine as the center parts of this, to essentially enable DeFi and lots of other applications with smart contracts for Bitcoin, but not just for Bitcoin. Cool. So this is the question which I raised. Please take it back home. Does it make sense to spend electricity 3 to 5% or even more of the world production to secure the global smart contract ledgers? Yes or no? And we believe we have a solution to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's give it up for Yanni. Thank you, my man. Appreciate it.